welcome back once again to the Imaginary Gallery. It is TJ, your host, leaving the abusive person. Again, referencing Lundy Bancroft's wonderful book, Why Does He Do That? Inside the Minds of Angry and Controlling People. In this video, I'll be covering two parts from the book. The first is on traumatic bonding. The second part is why your abusive person doesn't accept your request to take a break or take a breather. Traumatic bonding. Mr. Bancroft tells us that one of the great tragedies of all of the different types of abuse is that the abused person can become emotionally dependent on the perpetrator through the process called traumatic bonding. The assaults that an abusive person makes on the target's self-opinion, its undermining of her progress in life, the wedges he drives between her and other people, the psychological effects left on her when he turns spooky, all can combine to cause her to need him more and more. This is a bitter psychological irony. He tells us that child abuse works in the very same way. In fact, children can become more strongly attached to abusive parents than to non-abusive ones. Survivors of hostage-taking situations or torture can exhibit similar effects, attempting to protect the tormentor from legal consequences, insisting that the hostage-takers actually had their best interests in mind, or even describing them as kind and caring individuals. This is a phenomenon which is known as Stockholm Syndrome. Now, Mr. Bancroft told us that he saw these dynamics illustrated by a young kid who got a shock from touching an electric fence and was so terrified by this, he grabbed the fence for security and wouldn't let go, as each successive shock increased his panic, until his sister was able to reach him and pull him off. Almost no abuser is mean or frightening all the time. At least occasionally it's loving and gentle and kind, humorous, or maybe even capable of compassion and empathy. This intermittent and usually unpredictable kindness is critical for these creatures to form traumatic attachments. When a male or female has suffered harsh, painful treatment over an extended period of time, he or she naturally feels a flood of love and gratitude towards anyone who brings relief, like a surge of affection one might feel for the hand that offers a glass of water on a sweltering hot day. But in situations of abuse, the rescuer and the tormentor are the very same person. When an abusive person stops screaming at the partner and calling him or her a useless piece of trash and instead offers to say, "Hey baby, want to go on a vacation to Las Vegas?" Not to Mandalay Bay though. The typical emotional response is to feel grateful to him or her. When it keeps you awake badgering for sex in the middle of the night and then finally quiets down and allows the partner to get some sleep he or she so desperately needs, the partner feels a soothing peace from the relief of being left alone. Your abusive partner's cycles of moving in and out of periods of cruelty can cause you to feel very close to it during the times when it's being kind and loving. You can end up feeling that the nightmare of the abusiveness is an experience the two of you have shared and you're escaping from together. A dangerous illusion that trauma can cause. Bancroft commonly hears abused ladies say about their evil male partners, "He really knows me," or "Nobody understands me like he does." This may be true, but the reason he seems to understand her so well is that he has studied ways to manipulate her emotions and control the reactions. At times it may seem to grasp how badly it's hurt you, which can make you feel really close, but it's another illusion. If this person could really be empathetic about the pain it's causing, it would have stopped abusing you for good. Societies tended to label a woman masochistic or joining with him in his sickness for feeling grateful or attached to an abusive partner. In fact, though, studies have shown that there's little gender difference in this traumatic bonding process, that males become as attached to their captors as the ladies do. The trauma of chronic abuse can also make a lady develop fears of being alone at night, anxiety about her competence to manage her own life on her own terms, and feelings of being isolated from other people, especially if the abusive person's driven him or her apart from friends or family. All of these effects of abuse can make it much more difficult to separate from the abusive partner than from a non-abusive one. The pull to reunify can therefore be great. Researchers have found that most abused ladies leave the abuser several times before finally being able to stay away for good. This prolonged process is largely due to the abusive person's ongoing coercion and manipulation, but it's also caused by the trauma bonds that the abusive person has engendered in the partner. One exercise that can help you address this trap involves making a list of all the ways, including emotional ones, in which you feel dependent upon your partner. Then making another list of big or small steps you might take to begin to become more independent. These lists can guide you in focusing your energy in the directions that you need to be going into. On to the second part, why your abusive person doesn't accept your request to take a break or to take a breather. Honey, I've been thinking maybe we should just take a break. Ever said that? Bancroft begins by asking you a question. Have you ever attempted to take a brief period of separation from the partner that you're with? Perhaps you've been considering getting out of your relationship, but you might have been afraid of what their reaction might have been, for good reason. So you asked for a little bit of time apart, instead of just saying it's over. Or maybe you weren't sure what you wanted to do, and you just desperately desired some time away to consider where to go from here without having to deal daily with his or her bullying, criticism, and watching over you. You may have attempted to reassure the person that, oh no, it's not going to be over, I'm not ending anything. You still want to work on getting back together, but that you just needed a break. You probably requested that the two of you stay in separate places for a period of time, a few weeks, a few months, and that you'll see each other a little, or maybe not at all. You may have made other specific requests, such as not to speak together at all, even by phone, so that you could get a complete break. You may have asked for an agreement that you could see other people during this period, or specifically requested the opposite. The great majority of the abused ladies that Bancroft has worked with try at some point to get some bit of time out of the pressure cooker. His clients, however, the men, rarely honor their partner's requests. At the beginning, the man presents himself as supporting the plan and says things like,
I agree with her that we do need some time apart, just to let everything cool off, and then talk it over with level heads.
But he doesn't think this way for very long. He soon starts cutting around the edges of the agreement. If she asks that he not call for a while, he'll send her a card. Then he calls on some pretext. Maybe like a bill that needs to be paid or an invitation for her from his sister, and throws offhandedly,
So, how are ya?
to try to get a conversation going. It may keep showing up by coincidence at places where she or he happens to be. He keeps chipping away at her resolve as much as he can until she cracks and sees him. Once they're face to face, he pours on the sweetness and the charm, reminiscent of the romantic persona from the early idealization phase of the relationship, and sees if he can cajole or manipulate her into the bedroom. He may sense that once they've done it, she'll be hooked again, a strategy that Bancroft often sees his clients succeed with. One way or another, the lady never seems to end up getting the decompression time that she knew was indispensable to her well-being. Why doesn't he allow this breakup to happen? On a conscious level, he may simply miss her, but deep down, he's got other evil interests. He experiences the separation as a declaration by the partner that she is capable of surviving without him, that she is the best judge of what's good for her, that her needs should not always take a back seat to his, that her will has force. These messages represent a powerful summary of everything that he does not want in this relationship, and he feels driven to move quickly to prove them false. The abusive person is afraid of what the partner may discover if she succeeds in getting respite from his control. She may see how good it feels to live her life without put-downs and pressure that he gives her. She may also notice that there are other people out there in the world, men and women, who respect her and treat her well, and may even observe that some of her lady friends are treated as equals by their partners. She may start to think her own independent thoughts without him there to monitor her reflections and channel them towards the views he wants her to have. Above all, she might discover how much better off she is without this creature. In short, he will not tolerate the break because on some level he senses that it is too healthy and healing for the partner. He wants her to hear his voice and see his face because he believes he can destroy her resolve. Does he think carefully through this concern? Probably not entirely. He reacts largely on an automatic based on ruts in his thinking and behavior that have been deepening for years. And yet, Bancroft also keeps observing how much more aware the clients are of their own strategies than one might expect. When they are upset with him, as they many times are, they many times forget to keep their masks on, and they blurt out their honest thoughts and plans.
I am the Narcopath, and I'm here to give you some more confessions. As far as social gatherings with you and your family, I know that I didn't discriminate between boys and girls, and that many times when you took me to one of your family picnics or whatever you call them, I would often disappear for hours sometimes with men or women. You always suspected the worst. But of course, I'm here to tell you now you were right. I was having sex with all of them because that's what I do. I'm the Narcopath. As I told you, one person, male or female, is never gonna be enough for me. I have to just pretend like it is and tell everyone that I'm happy with you, my lover, whether you're a boy or a girl. I'm never satisfied. And that's why I vanished and gave you all that heartache when you accused me of doing things with them. Of course, they would never tell you because I threatened them and I told them that you would abuse me if they told. And they bought it, so you have no one to blame but yourself.
I was just thinking of you. You know, the Illuminati figured out a way to clone my body.
And to make it female? So I'm gonna surprise my new lover with a pregnancy from a transgendered lesbian. Imagine that. Good evening. I'm Sandy Hoaxtard coming to you live from TV5 Fake News. It's been several weeks since the Las Vegas mass shooting, which was the biggest mass shooting in U.S. history at the Route 91 Country Festival. The police and the FBI have been virtually silent over this. The last we heard after several changing stories was that there was one shooter and he's dead. Aren't they always? We've asked for any witnesses to come forward so we could feature them on the show tonight. And we came across one such person who was there. Her name is Tamika. Are you there, Tamika? Hi, Sandy. Yes, please give us your testimony. I'm happy to give you my testimony. Now, I'm not really what you call a country girl, but I did happen to be at this one particular country show. I was there with a man that I thought was going to get some money from. He was actually a John, a trick. Fine, I'm a whore. Big deal. Get over it. Tamika, you want to hear my testimony, please? I was listening to the music, and all of a sudden I heard these shots They sounded like firecrackers. They sounded like fireworks. Well, I kind of laughed at it. Who's shooting fireworks? Well, then, it wasn't long before I saw guns, muzzle flashes on the ground, and coming from left and from right, and I was terrified. At first, I thought it was just the loudspeakers, with a recording of some gunshots that sounded like splattering diarrhea. I'm sorry, that's not really what we're doing tonight on the show. I didn't know if it was real or not, and I thought I didn't get asked to work in this one. Yeah. Because I do practice acting, you know. I tried to offer my services for the camera, they didn't want them. I'm going to be on Dr. Phil as a narcissist soon, but they didn't want that much exposure. I gave the FBI my cell phone, which I had filmed several moments of this event, including some very key witness pictures. I got my phone back, it was totally wiped. Well, little did they know I had a cloud and a special backup, and every single file was elsewhere. So, nice try, fools. They're trying to lie to the public, and that's my job. They're not allowed to lie. I am. So I am going to turn my footage loose on the world and prove that there was more than one shooter. There were at least 10. 10! Well, I thank you, Tamika, for your testimony. Thank you. Yeah. That's the honest-to-God truth. Thanks. This is Sandy Hoaxtard, wishing you a good night. Any other witnesses, please call the number on your screen. We'd love to hear from you. Where did you find that witness? Oh, great evening. This is Sandy Hoaxtard signing off with TV5 Fake News.
Sandy, oh, I love the way you perform your song. Is there any way you have an opening for a dancer or a stripper?
I'm sorry, that's not really what we're doing tonight on the show.
Never mind, I'm fine. We'll talk about it offline. Thanks.